artist for Sephora collection, and every month we try a new trend, and this month we are trying something that has high impact but is an everyday staple that you have, blush. So I love this look because it's typically a feature that you leave a little bit more subtle, but this makes a really high impact, especially if you're wearing a mask. So let me tell you how I got this look. Okay, so for this trend, it is essential that you know where your cheekbone is. So I really recommend just sort of feeling it out. So this is the apple of your cheek, and then you want it right above. So the most intensity is gonna be sort of at the edge of the eye, right on that cheekbone where the cheekbone sort of lays the flattest or the highest, I guess. And for this, I'm actually going to be using our Matte Perfection blush in Peach Blossom. This blush is really cool because it has 2 shades built in, so you can really build the intensity easily. And I'm going to use the Makeup Match brush. Specifically, I'm going to start with this edge of the brush, so it's the shorter, denser part, and just dip it into the darker part of the circle of the blush. So finding that high point of your cheekbone, you've got your blush, and you really want to just sort of wiggle it and place it. It's not gonna look pretty right off the bat. It's gonna look just like a dot of blush. But trust me, this trend is just something really fun to try. You will look beautiful and diffused afterwards. So just really get that pigment payoff that you want right off the bat. So I like a lot of intensity just right in there. And you can go kind of right under the eye, so don't feel like you can't look up, and sort of stipple it on in there too. And you can see I'm using more of like that pressing motion, and that's really just to make sure that I'm getting all of the pigment payoff, and I don't want any blending yet. Now I'm gonna go back in and make sure it's closer to my eye on this side so it's nice and even and the intensity is even on both sides. That's really essential. So it looks a little bit like a face painting right now, but trust me, this is gonna look really diffused and beautiful. It is such a fun, beautiful trend to try. So hold on, stay tuned for step 2. Now we're going to make it look more like a typical blush. So taking that same blush brush, I'm going in with the lighter shade in this palette and just sort of sweeping it all the way into my brush, just really working it in. So I have a good amount of product to work with, so I can really diffuse this and make it look like it's melting into my skin a little bit more. I don't want to start too close to my nose, so make sure you're still kind of starting here. And you're just getting that softer look. And I am almost doing like a C motion because I know what I'm doing, or I know where I'm going with my blush. So I think that's kind of key too, is just knowing where you're gonna place your blush. You can see it's getting more diffused. So I definitely have that point of color that is really strong. And then with whatever I have left, I can go work more inward to really get that perfect diffusion going. I think the biggest thing with like getting a good blend, if you're a person who like gets nervous about getting a good blend, I certainly have been in the past, just always work really softly. So I think that's always my biggest key takeaway whenever I'm doing things. So don't like, if you want a lot of color profusion, definitely like pack it on. But if you don't and you really want something that's like soft and blended, use that soft kind of motion, and you're not pressing so hard on your brush so that your makeup isn't sticking to one place on your skin. So if the blush does get a little too low, you can always take like your blank foundation brush and just kind of blend that out to diffuse it. So I like this blush to stay pretty high up on the cheekbone, a little bit more runway. If you have it too low, I feel like it takes away from that runway look and it almost looks more of like a painted look, and we don't want that. So keep it high end, high fashion by keeping it high up on your cheekbone. And the next step for this blush is to apply it to your temple. It's like coming from your eye out, kind of a look, and you'll see why. Take the longer part of your blush brush, dip it into the lighter tone, and I love this because it's on your temple, but it's also underneath of your brow. So this is just really to melt it all together. So you want to lightly do it, and I do recommend closing your eye for this just so you can get it just right. And it goes onto your eye, but also on your temple, but you're going in a downward motion. You don't want to go actually as high probably as your temple. It's just kind of under your brow. It's just to make sure that everything looks really nice and blended and cohesive. Do the same to the other side. I love these like tapered blush brushes because I feel like you can do a lot with them as far as like shapes go, and you don't need to switch brushes so much. To complete the look and make everything look really cohesive and just truly make a statement, you want to make sure that you have that monochromatic look going on. So I'm going to apply some eyeshadow to my lids, and it's going to be in that same tone. So I'm going to be using the Pocket Palette by Sephora collection. This one is in orange, and you can see it has some really beautiful like tones to it that will work really well. And actually this shade works really well on my skin. It actually looks a little bit more orange than it does even in the palette. So let's try that out. So I have loaded up the Sephora Collection Pro Shadow brush number 14 with that beautiful shade, and I'm going to apply it all over my lids. Again, using that really soft motion. You don't need to like go hard with this. You're not looking for a ton of profusion. You're really looking for that like soft melted in effect. And you can see it's really melted in. It's kind of the same tone, but not the same shade. So I do really love that and how that looks. And if you feel like you didn't get it quite close enough with your blush underneath your eye, or you're not comfortable with that, you can definitely now apply a little bit of that eyeshadow to just enhance everything. And that is it. It is so simple and gives a super high impact. This is definitely a runway to real way trend. So definitely if you're giving it a try at home, I would love to know what blush you are using. And if you loved this trend to try and want to see some more, definitely click on the little subscribe button below. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye.